Next up, we have Roger Jones sharing Drawing Your Life.
I'm going to talk a little bit this evening about how I learned to draw and a couple of things that I discovered along the way. In 1974, I entered architecture school and, somewhat to my chagrin, realized that I was really going to have to learn how to draw. So I went out and bought a sketchbook and started carrying it with me everywhere and drawing whenever I had an odd moment. As you can imagine, some 51 years later, I've accumulated quite a pile of sketchbooks. These are some of them. And there are others, absolutely. The ones from 1974 to 1980, I lost along the way, so I can't show you any of those. They were embarrassingly crude. But gradually I did improve and actually grew to enjoy drawing just as a process. And hopefully this demonstrates a certain amount of improvement. I can remember the bad ones. I also remember drawings that were represented, big leaps in understanding and accomplishment. You can draw anything. It doesn't matter how large or how small it is. It's roughly equal in complexity. What it requires is close observation, and the more you observe something, the closer you look, the more you see. So learning to draw is largely a process of learning to see as well. Along the way, I began to draw more people and organic forms. I think that was as a respite from the daily work of dealing with the rigid geometries of architecture. And I found it very rewarding to be able to render the world around me and the people around me. If you have a sketchbook and a pen or a pencil, you don't ever need to be bored. So airplanes and airports, which are places where it's easy to be bored, are great places to draw. The interiors of airplanes can be kind of challenging, but there's a constantly changing cast of characters in the plane. So you can draw people or you can draw the plane. I also used to sometimes ride the number 86 commuter bus between Waterbury and Burlington. And I knew when I was doing that I had a half hour twice a day with nothing else scheduled except to sit there and look at the people around me, observe them, and try to render them. This was a similar thing, only, for example, the woman on the right was on a train from Munich to Bolzano, Italy. And in trains, sometimes you sit directly across from someone, so I was able to draw her full face. She was hiding behind those sunglasses. I'm not sure if she knew I was drawing her or not. Around 2008, looking back at some old sketchbooks, I had two realizations. One was that all this time I'd thought I was just learning to draw, but I discovered I was actually keeping a sort of journal of my life. That surprised me. I also discovered that looking back at older drawings, that they're far more potent emotionally as memory and stimulus to memory than any photograph. I'll just let you look at this one. So the difference between a photograph and a drawing. A photograph is an instantaneous record of the world around you. A drawing, in contrast, takes a little bit of time, and it's a record of the interaction of your consciousness with the world around you. It filters out. It doesn't include everything. It just shows what you filtered out. Once I realized that I was actually sort of keeping a journal, I became more self-conscious or more deliberate about adding notes and observations to drawings that I made. So this was, in fact, a pair of women in a cafe in Montpelier, and I made some notes about the conversation that I was eavesdropping on. In this case, I assembled drawings from a variety of sketchbooks, different times, different places, different people, and added a little bit of a commentary. In fact, there's a copy of this, which was intended to be a scroll out in the lobby. I like to think of those people gathered together sort of at random from different places, and that I've made them into a group they don't know they belong to. All of these drawings are basically drawings, though, of small moments in your life. But then again, what is life except a whole lot of small moments strung together, which too often just disappear and are consigned to oblivion. But if you draw, and if you pay some attention to them, even the smallest moment can become memorable and filled with gravitas. These are some drawings from Chicago, and the small moment was sitting on a park bench with the sun shining on my back and the sounds of the city around me. And looking at them, I can go right back to that time and place. What is it about drawings that is so important in terms of creating memories? I think the activation of so many different parts of the brain that is involved in making a drawing really intensifies the process of creating a memory. These are examples, books of done by other people, collections of drawings, who also found different ways of recording their passage through life in drawings. The explorers' sketchbooks are interesting because those were done before the age of photography, when drawing was an essential skill for literacy. So if you take some time and sit down, observe the world around you, pick up a pencil and try to draw, then over time you'll end up accumulating, as I have, a collection of images that are like a kaleidoscope of memories. And you'd be amazed at what floods back to you when you look at them, at the things that they trigger in terms of both memory and emotional response. Every one of these drawings is for me, a window into a whole set of memories. So drawing has been one of the most rewarding projects of my life. And I think anybody can draw, can learn to draw, and can reap similar rewards. These are the basic tools. It's really all you need in order to do that. So I exhort you all to grab them, pick them up, look for the small moments in your life, and draw your own life.